So, um,
What's up, Matt?
they buy it on your behalf. So, please call me back. Thank you.
Hey, Matt, can you hear us? Greg, can you hear me?
How's that better?
Yeah, I can hear you. Matt, I can't hear you.
I can hear you now.
Let's see if I. Yeah, I can hear you. I just want to make sure Matt can hear.
Matt, can you hear?
Matt?
He looks frozen.
Yeah.
His screen's frozen up.
Yeah, I think he is frozen.
You see, I'm working on the stand up dust now, Ash.
Oh, nice. I like those.
Yeah.
I like those. They're pretty cool. Good for you, man.
Yeah. I had, it's not an official one. It's a little ghetto, but it's working.
Cool. Let me see. Let me just send something to Nick. Call Beamer.
Yeah, he may need to just log back in again.
Yeah, no worries. I'm sure he's doing that. I know he's at home because he had some snow and some other things. Hey, Matt. I can't get through on his mobile. Maybe he's lost internet out in that storm. We'll find out here. Nick's trying to get his sound on right now.
Okay.
You're missing some good weather here today, Greg.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, not bad. It's 45, 50-ish, sunny. Probably not like you guys.
I mean, you've had well, it's interesting. It's been, it's actually really stormy here today. I mean, it's still, it's warm, but it's
Yeah,
super windy. We got like 40-mile-an-hour winds.
yeah, right on. Right on.
But it's been. I mean, you've had a really mild winter. It's
What's
like
up, Matt?
all the winters in California.
Weird.
There he is.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Matt. Yeah,
can.
we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear us? All right, cool. We're all up. We're all up. Good, up and going. Good deal. Well, this is Greg and I were chatting a little bit. We were on a 2-week hiatus. I was out in your neck of the woods, Matt, in Bend last week.
Get a little snow?
Yeah, snow, cold. Got to do all the snowshoeing, hiking, going to the Patagonia store, going to REI, seeing a bunch of people in really rugged looking clothing, driving $150,000 automobiles, and drinking lattes.
Those are the California
Yeah.
people that moved up here.
Yeah, I really like Bend. It's a lot of people that want to look. They don't have a ton of money, but have a ton of money. It's a really
Dude, when I was
it's
a
good
kid,
look.
Bend was 29,000 people and just a bunch of rednecks. It's turned into Portland Junior.
Yeah, it's still cool, man. You get to go into a store and shop for $100 bar of soap and have a beer, right? And it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
It was a lot of fun.
America, it's a great country. Great country.
It really is. When you go to stuff like that, it's amazing. It's amazing. So it was great. I'm just opening one thing on LinkedIn here so we can make comments. Did I miss much in the last few weeks? It looks like when I left, the market was still kind of up there, and all of a sudden I came back and futures had sold off $100, and all kinds of interesting stuff was going on. So so everybody, welcome to This Week in Lumber. Matt Beamer, Hampton Lumber Sales, Greg Riley, Sitka USA. As I said, we've been gone for 2 weeks. If you've missed the show, a lot of people were asking where we were. We're back. Let's summarize what happened. Seems like 3 weeks ago, we had a good run up into the market. A lot of during seasonal strength, a lot of lumber was bought, and all at once, everybody thought they may have had too much and sold it. Sold off. We're getting a little bit of action in here. Talk to Matt and Greg. You know, it's interesting when you read certain things or talk to certain people, and kind of I'm summing up like this. If you've only been in this industry for 2 years or 3 years, and you think that's how it is all the time, you may want to look for something else to do, because you're going to be sad. You're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
And realize what really showing up and rolling up the sleeves and doing the work is really like. And some of you can do that, but like talking to Matt and Greg today, there's business being done every day out there, and it's in different fits and spots, but it's being done every day. If you were just one person that was answering the phone all the time and moving wood for one of your buddies at a desk across from you, you may not be having as much success right now. But I read these pundits and other things, and they're saying how there hasn't been any activity. I kind of beg to differ with that. There's a lot of activity every day. It's just not what we were probably used to over the last few years. But if you put it next to what we've done in the last X amount of years of our careers, guys, it's been pretty good. I mean, so Matt, I mean, you summed it up great today to me when I was walking in. I mean, you're blowing and going in Texas, but maybe some other markets aren't as strong. But you're moving stuff, right?
Well, Texas just has nice weather, and with nice weather after a series of ice storms, you have pent up demand. And then but the West Coast, for example, there's snow in my yard here. That's why it's so bright. And my kids had a late start for school today because it snowed again last night. I mean, it's March, and I've been here for 55 years, and I can tell you there's not a lot of times in my life where we had snow on the ground on March 1st, right? This is normal temperature for this time of year is in the mid 50s, maybe even low 60s, and we're starting to see like rosebuds come up and things like that. But it's winter here.
Crocuses popping out of the ground.
It is definitely winter. Hey, there's somebody calling in to buy some more lumber. I'm going to blow them off. Watch this. I'll call you back. I mean, like I'm not seeing much local business here, and but my business in the center of the country is better, and I think the warmer states are certainly moving through product at the moment. That's where I'm focusing my attention.
Matt, you talk about that weather. I mean, it's crazy when you look at the West Coast, California. I saw a deal where like Mammoth Mountain had 14 feet of snow at the base. That's at the base, right? I mean, you've basically corrected 10 years worth of drought in California this year. So
there was a thing on the morning news today about the climate in Oregon, and it showed the snowpack year to date compared to historical averages. And we're way above normal for March 1st. So like we have a surplus of water just sitting here frozen. And I imagine California and Washington have the same plethora of water for a change. We're not going to have a drought this year for sure. And there's more snow coming.
Well,
it's not supposed to hit
California
like 2 weeks from now.
California may still have a drought because they haven't figured out how to build enough reservoirs over the last 20 years to actually capture that water.
I mean, even the Salton Sea might actually get back to its 1950s levels.
Yeah.
But anyhow,
I saw you perk. Yeah.
I mean, to your point, I mean, being gone for a couple of weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, mean, I think there was a sense that the market was after the strong run up that we'd had, that the market was maybe rolling over. It completely collapsed, and I think I mean that surprised a lot of people how quickly it washed out. I mean, futures sold off $150 was down. I think it was down 14 days in a row. And if you think that when the rally started at the beginning of the year, we were at prices that everybody acknowledged were long-term unsustainable. The inventory, the pipeline had depleted. We had that sharp run up, and which I think it ran too far, too fast, which is why it came right back down. I think the big question now is, are we in the process of bottoming out, and quote unquote, what's next? I mean, the reality is that.
Good question.
Yep. Go ahead.
So look, we talked to a guy today, and he's like, I bought 14 cars or 20 cars in the last 2 weeks because we're near a bottom and things are going to bounce. I'm like, okay. And he was bullish, right? And no different than any one of us when we're long or short something, what our mindset is. So are prices unsustainable here? Because I guess my question is, I haven't seen any more real curtailments. I haven't seen any closure. If I look at new homes or housing starts, the amount of board footage that has come off in starts isn't commensurate yet with what's come off in production. Am I wrong? Am I missing that?
I mean, I think two things, and I think we'll try and get Russ Taylor on. I think, Matt, you're out next week, right?
Yeah, I'll be traveling.
Yeah.
Okay.
The production coming off, Ash, I don't think the full effect of most of the curtailment announcements really comes into play until the second quarter. I think that there's a lot of curtailment that's, it's kind of like, quiet quitting. You've heard about that, right? Quiet quitting, Ash. It's what like some of the younger folks do when they.
Oh, no, have a job. I've never heard of that before. I've never heard of that.
Almost blew my screen out.
But there's a quiet curtailment they're the people that have they're making less lumber, whether it's they've eliminated a shift here and a shift there, gone to a 4-day week. There's a lot of that, and that's it's a trickle down, right? The real effect of that doesn't show up statistically for the way it is probably at least 3 to 6 months. When you add to that, I've had multiple conversations. I mean, one of the things, there's been a lot of pressure on spruce, certainly on the East Coast and in the Southeast in particular, has been the mountains and mountains of European lumber. I've had multiple conversations in the last couple of days about a drastic slowdown in bookings for March shipment, April arrival. And I think that if prices stay at these levels where they're at right now for any period of time, that'll just accelerate. And the second quarter, you'll see a lot less European lumber. The spreads that we've been seeing that's trading at a discount to Western mill prices and Eastern prices, I think that's going to disappear, and the prices will probably be more in line, put it that way.
Well, so good question. We had a guy on our show last week on Thursday with Matt Lehman and I, and he basically said, and it's a person that brings in European lumber. They're getting better. It's a person that brings in Euro. He said that there is going to be less lumber. There's already less lumber, and getting better return in other locations like the Middle East, North Africa, and other places. And I'm not intelligent enough to know that, but from what I've seen, there's still a ton of European lumber coming over here right now. And I would guess that a lot of these bookings, in order to lock freight in, you'd already be booked out for Q3, right, of 2023 in order to ship lumber. What you're saying is they may not just load it up and go. They may just not ship it, Greg. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying I've had multiple reports that there's a slowdown in booking now, March shipment, April arrival. So,
yeah, which, any little bit would make a big difference, especially when you hear about all the vessels that were sitting off the port in Florida for a month waiting to unload when we saw that big influx in different areas of the country over, 2 or 3 months ago, right? And so, yeah, I think I probably agree with you there.
I mean, if you just look at the math, Ashley, I was buying, and I bought some from you guys, even European 2 and better premium lumber for about what I was selling number 3 for in some of the markets that I operate in. And so, when 2 and better lumber, I'll give everybody in the world a free piece of advice. If you want to make real money in this business, if you can buy 2 and better lumber at the number 3 price in your career, just shut your eyes and buy as much as you can. Seriously, it's not difficult. So I did. And
well, if you can sell or if you can sell number 3 at the 2 and better price, that's a good thing to do too.
Absolutely. And that's another reason why we had that big sawtooth in the futures chart, because people that buy undervalued lumber, whether it's low grade or stud grade or even cheap European imported 2 and better lumber, bought that stuff in January, saw $510 to $530 sell price in the March contract and said, that's attractive. Let's do that. And created themselves some $100 and $200 and $250 basis trades. So, the industry was smart enough to sell that. At the same time, we flushed out a bunch of the funds that were caught short down in the 380s to 420s. What really surprised me was, like Greg alluded to, was the big over sell-off. So I thought we'd go back down to like 420, 430. I figured at some point we'd have a $100 adjustment. It was that extra $40 or $50. And we saw the same thing happen in January when we got down to 360. There's like so much negativity at the bottom that people get trapped in their mindset. And they forget, look, we're still building 1.2, 1.3 million homes. It's not like we're at 2009 levels here. I mean, there's activity going on. So I caution people not to get overly negative in the middle of winter at prices that are unsustainable long term. What you want to do is be overly pessimistic come June when the price is 550. That's when you want to be pessimistic. You don't want to be pessimistic in January at 360.
We had two pieces of data in the last week on housing that I thought were interesting. One was existing home sales. We're down for like the 12th straight month, but I looked at it, and in the inventory of existing homes was like a 2 point something months supply, which just tells me it's kind of reinforcing in that people are not listing their houses, whether it's because they know that prices are softer now, and or they're not going to move because they're in a 2 3/4% mortgage. But that's translating into good business, better business for the home builders, because their number for January new home sales was up, and the inventory fell. It's still a relatively low inventory of homes, of new homes. Obviously, there's a pipeline's pretty good. So, and I think that's what's been showing up in both, the builder profit reports and in the builder sentiment, which continues to improve.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at the different sales volumes on new and existing homes across the United States, the high beta areas are starting to have big monthly drops in pricing now, right? The Denver, the California markets, certain ones, which makes sense because obviously a good model isn't buy a house for $650,000 in 2019 and put a coat of paint on it and list it for $1.2 million in 2023, right? And you can just see certain areas. I think we're starting to see those high beta areas start to sell off. Like you said, there's not a lot out there. Then you come to different areas, the place where I own a house at, Chicago, where the price came up. We're finally back, like you said, Greg, to 2004 or 5 numbers, but it's not really fluctuating very much. It's kind of just still sitting there, right? But we haven't had the same price appreciation at a lot of places.
Yeah, you're not on a yo-yo.
Yeah.
See, Phoenix, Denver, and Boise, and some of these Western markets that have this sort of boom bust cycle. That's what you see, right? I mean, you see these big run ups. Vegas was a victim of this back in the 2006 to 2010 timeframe. Places like Chicago and Portland that have like pretty strict urban growth boundaries, I think that sort of takes some of the sting out of the up and down motion of the market. We can't build very many new homes in Portland because we have an artificially created barrier to growth, right? And that creates high value for the people that live inside that little barrier. It doesn't really help you if you own a farm 5 miles out of it because you can't develop it. So whereas in Dallas or Phoenix, it's flat. There's no real physical boundaries to building, and they don't have the urban growth boundaries that we do in these blue cities.
One of the other things, Matt, maybe you can talk about this a little bit, was the home center business. We've continued to hear reports that the home centers have takeaways been very, very, very good, and I don't know how much of that is them building inventory for the busy spring season, or they actually are just their outtake is that much greater.
It's still good, and it's better than we talked about this a month ago, and so I guess you got a bit of a preview of what is the normal busy time of year. So normally the end of February kind of signals the transition to springtime buying patterns from the home center type people. It also the treaters tend to start to wake up a little bit. There's treaters all over this country, so. These are normal long-term patterns that we've seen for years and years and years. It's nothing different this year, except for it started a month early. And I don't know if that was because of mild weather. I don't know if that was because the home center people just are really bullish about 2023. I don't know if they're capturing more pro business than they used to, but the fact is they're just taking more material and they're taking it faster than they were last year. So I think it's going to be continue to grow? I'm skeptical that it'll continue to grow because it's already a really high level right now. But hey, I mean, if the retail yards start competing with the home centers for business, I don't really know what the long-term 5 years down the road picture is going to look like. That could change the world that we know for our careers quite a bit.
Yep. And Matt, just looking at these big home centers, these big chains, they are positioning themselves through personnel, through building infrastructure, and through building sales teams to go out and get the pro business. And when I look at their earnings reports, their pro business seems to be growing. It started during COVID, and they've continued to try to push that, where they want to buy the normal sticks, not just the frickin' 4 square, A-grade steak that they normally buy. They want to buy the other stuff and sell it to contractors too. So that's going to be a potential real game changer out there. And Greg, you made the point of, hey, how did it sell off another $40 or $50? Well, look at, reading the tea leaves or reading what I see is, we talk about this and we beat this up every day. There's a lot less there's a lot less small independent, mid-sized independent lumber yards buying lumber anymore. It's all gone to larger hierarchies of buying at these companies, and it takes them a lot longer to do this with each other, decide when they want to send that email out to their guys to tell them to buy, or the phone call, or the 75 meetings they have to decide who's going to do it, right? And it's created a big lag in the way things are bought now, and it's created a great opportunity for guys like Greg, like you guys, because you can get in front of that because it's actually created a lag in the market. That was a thoughts there, guys. That's not a thirst.
Well, you went like this. I went like this. You went like this. It's like what I said, but you went like this.
Yeah. No, I've just seen so many changes at different companies, and who you have to talk to get things made, where you used to call the same person every now and then, and you call them now and they're like, I don't make those decisions. They have me buying drywall now, and the person buying lumber is a person with an MBA in you know, marine biology that that sits at this company now and has a good ESG score and now buys for us.
No, but I mean, just to your point is, I mean, we've seen this, the concentration, whether when we think about how much product moves with no price transparency or discovery, whether it moves through the contract process, and it goes back to kind of when you opened up. There's a real sense that there's a disconnect a lot of times between the reporting agency pricing and what's going on in the market and what guys like Matt and I may be seeing out there.
No, that's a great point.
And there's so much now that happens with kind of in a vacuum that it obscures, or no, that's not right. Not the right word, but it clouds the view of what's really happening in the marketplace.
Honestly, Greg, I think that if you want to know what's going on in the marketplace, listening to the shows that Ashley and his team are putting on is helpful. They probably get plenty of information from the futures deal and from Matt Lehman on the Thursday broadcast. I hope people can pick up some nuggets of information from us. That's the point. We're speaking with 30 years experience or more here, all of us. And so, we can talk about long-term trends with authority. I don't think that we're, guessing here, but what we don't know and nobody really knows is what the future is going to hold. Right. And that's what we're all trying to figure out. So how do you guess reasonably about the future? Well, get in an airplane, get in your car, drive around, ask questions, look around, talk to people, get to know who you're dealing with and what's going on in those localities. That's a big part of it. Another one is, find the right people to talk to. If you want to be successful in life, hang out with successful people. It's something I tell my kids all the time. It's pretty common sense if you think about it. If you don't know much about futures, study up about futures, learn about the technicalities of futures, talk to your lumber buyers and find out what drives them, during different times of the year. I know, for example, the way people buy lumber in Colorado in the wintertime is different than how they buy it in the summertime. I know that because I've been selling Colorado for my whole career. So being curious about the world and going out into the world and asking lots of questions is going to help you be successful in the long run. Just listening to these shows helps a little bit, but it's going to require more than just, I saw a podcast and now I know what I'm doing. No, you got to actually go out and put the time in.
It's interesting.
Are you on spring break? Are you on spring break next week, Matt, or are you traveling for work?
I'm going for work. I do that all the time. I've been doing that my whole career. I'm a big believer that you should get on airplanes and go visit people. And I just said that and I mean it. Spring break for me is the end of the month. So we're going to go to Bend. We're going to go to Sun River, Ashley, and we're going to do some skiing.
But love Sun River. But to your point, Matt, over the last 2 weeks, I've had two conversations that stick out in my mind. 3 weeks. One, a person in a mill that's a little bit younger. I sent them a tally calculator that we put together in an Excel spreadsheet to show them how to do random loads of lumber.
Right.
And showed them how to figure it. This is somebody selling a lot of lumber.
Right.
Right. And on the buy side, I talked to somebody that buys for a large regional chain that I had to show them what the print price, or talk about what the print price was, and versus what the market was actually trading at. And it was significantly below it, right, at one point. And sometimes people have a hard time understanding why the market trades below that. And if you tell somebody, hey, the market is here, but there's wholesalers out buying massive volume at $100 under print, that they don't get that, right? Because their job is to just buy at or maybe slightly better than print, right? And the seller's job is to sell just at or just better than print, right? Or you call a mill. We don't get print, so it's always hard for us because I don't know. It's hard because a mill will call you and say, well, we're print, east side or west side or central. So, I have to ask for pricing, right? Because everybody's falling back to the easiest thing to do, but that's back to the whole point of that's why it's so. you and Greg and Matt, these are great opportunities for you when you're smarter guys in the room. Like I look at some of these companies, I'm like, man, I hope they can train some of these people better to learn this, right? And I think that there's a lot of things.
What happened
and hopefully
when
we're doing some of that.
had the tally crunching program? Did you just have
Yeah.
mind blown?
Yeah, well, it blew my mind. It blew my mind.
All right, hey guys, I gotta roll. Hey,
All right,
great
guys.
to see you guys. Good
Thanks
to
for
be
showing
back,
up.
Matt. Have a
Appreciate
safe trip next week.
Thanks, you guys. Have a great day.
All right, boys.
Yeah.
Yep.